Atlantic world slavery explores the way the transatlantic slave trade and subsequent systems of slavery in the Americas have shaped our modern world. We consider the workings of the slave trade, the plantation complex, crops such as sugar, the evolution of racial ideology, gender, rebellion, revolt, abolition, and war. We look at some traditional topics, like the Middle Passage or the Haitian Revolution, and then we also look at some hot-off-the-press topics, like science and slavery, or slavery in American universities, topics that I wouldn't have been able to teach 15 years ago, because the research simply wasn't there. So students get a chance to have a really deep grounding in the questions and problems of Atlantic world slavery, and also a chance to see some cutting-edge historical research at work. Atlantic world slavery puts economic history in conversation with other historical methodologies. Some of the readings are straightforward economic history. We look at the counterfactual of what would have happened if slaves had been granted land after the U.S. Civil War, or the question of relative prices for indentured and enslaved labor in colonial America. But then we also cross into intellectual history and art history. We look at how European artists painted Africans and how that changed in early modern Europe, how German readers in the 19th century read and understood the American anti-slavery bestseller, Uncle Tom's Cabin, and how they appropriated it for their own needs. By combining economic history with other methodologies, this class offers many different ways of thinking about a complex subject. Lasting over 300 years, the transatlantic slave trade resulted in the forced migration of 12.5 million people out of Africa, 10.6 million of whom survived the Middle Passage to become enslaved people in the Americas. That violent demographic movement and the disparities that grew out of it has had deep consequences for Africa, Europe, the United States, and Latin America. The legacy of Atlantic world slavery shapes our contemporary reality in macro, easy-to-quantify ways, like life expectancy or GDP in parts of Africa, or racial wealth gaps in the United States, and also in subtle but deeply insidious ways, like students getting kicked out of class because of their hairstyles, or salespeople carefully watching black shoppers as they go through stores. Racial discrimination suffuses the contemporary world, from home lending to prison sentencing to police brutality to bias in maternal health care. This course explores how this world came to be and helps students develop intellectual tools to think about it in a critical way.